0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated Podcast. I am your salad-eating host, Mike Castellanos, and I am joined by my big buddy Regz. Bud.
Hey, salad.
How we doing?
I don't get it. Salad eating? Like literally?
Yeah, man. Listen, I have this road stuff. I have eaten so poorly. When I got home from Knoxville, I was like, man, my shirts didn't fit. Like when I was going to wear like a button up shirt, like it was almost opening. And I was like, well, that's not good. That's never happened before. So I went on a streak. Since last Friday night, I have only eaten salads that have like chicken, egg, and shrimp on it. That's it. And all kinds of veggies. I'm much better now. I feel much better, and I feel like it all just fell off. But the problem with going all these places is everywhere you go, they're like, well, this is only something you get here in Knoxville. This is only something you get here in Kansas. Like, and all of the things are not good for you.
Of course.
So I think I just have to be more, and they all come with fries, and you know how that goes for me.
Of course.
So I think I just have to be more selective and like force myself to eat at least like one salad whenever I'm out there or out these places. I think that's got to be what I do.
Yeah.
I think I overeat, Regz, is what happens.
Well, it's probably because you don't eat during most of the day, right? If you're like in your school or if you're doing these trainings, you're not stopping for lunch and stuff like that. So you're getting done, you're tired, you're hungry. So of course you're going to
probably dehydrated,
right,
which makes you hungrier.
Yeah. So you're going to go for something that you like is going to actually fill you up.
And then sometimes I'm like, man, I didn't spend any of my money today.
Well, yeah, right. Gotta make up
I'm gonna
for it.
I'm gonna get an appetizer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna get the steak, whatever the biggest size steak I can get is, and whatever sides I can, roll into that, and I'll eat it all. So, salad eating Azzy was added.
There you go.
Week.
You went on a little cleanse. Good for you.
I mean, I will send you the picture of the salad I had tonight. I mean, it was awesome. But this has been like my literally all I've eaten since I had Jersey Mike's last night. Other than that, it has been salad on. Like that is it. I probably
need several weeks of salad.
I mean, tell me though how good that's a good looking salad.
See, here's the problem with me. I don't like salad dressing.
So it's plain then.
I think it's all disgusting.
Okay.
All of it.
Well, Andrea has this skinny girl salad dressing.
I'd much rather. That's fantastic. I'd much like. I think when I was doing this kind of stuff, it was just lettuce and chicken. Like that's
it. Just dry.
Yeah, that was it.
I mean, you season the chicken? You season the chicken?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But I just can't. Like, and talk about this all the time with Angela. She's like, she loves Survivor, so sometimes they have those eating challenges. Or you got to eat a bug or you got to eat some gross thing. I was like, I'd have a better chance of eating that bug than if they filled a beer glass with salad dressing.
Really?
I'd have a better chance of eating the bug than chugging down.
I mean,
salad dressing.
Chugging for sure. I would never be able to chug salad dressing. But if you just asked me to sip on like a glass of salad dressing, I could probably do it.
No, I couldn't. I'd rather eat the bug.
I don't think I could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if we're talking like a spider, I won't even get near one.
Yeah, see, I'd rather eat the spider.
Wow.
It's weird, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if it's weird because it might be weird that I would drink a thing of salad dressing.
Well, yeah, to me it is, right?
Right. So, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been going for it with this skinny girl salad dressing that
Good for
Andrea
you.
has up there. Yeah, I'm not too ashamed to say it, right?
Yeah, listen, you do what you got to do, right?
I mean, but yeah, look, I mean, there's some solid shrimp on there. There's some good egg rolling on there.
It's
some
chicken.
chicken.
It's a solid homemade salad.
It is. I'm super proud of it. And it's going to work out perfectly because I leave on Sunday and I'm going to have, I'm going to run out of all of it just in time.
There you go.
It's
nice
going to
when
be,
that works out.
Ran the gauntlet because Andrew was like, I can't wait for you to go so I can have something other than a salad for dinner. I appreciate the sacrifice.
Yeah, right.
Eating healthy for a week. Goodness gracious.
Who wants to do that garbage?
No, I listen, I don't want to do it, but I had to fit in my shirts again. Unbelievable.
I'm not sure how you gain weight with the amount that you work out and all that.
Yeah, but it's also like on the road, my workouts aren't the same.
Sure.
It's very different. They don't have the equipment that I use, so it's like makeshift and but it's, it's fine. It's just when you eat like crap, like they say, abs are made in the kitchen. So it doesn't matter how much you work out if you're eating
good
a pound and a half cheeseburger and side of fries.
Good. We're back to complaining about abs and all that. Good. I'm really happy we're here again. Makes me feel great.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. Let's talk about something that'll make you feel great. The Philadelphia 76ers.
How about them, huh?
Regz, I think they're actually good.
I think they are.
They're a good team.
Also, who'd have thought having multiple large wingspan individuals who are semi-athletic and can shoot around a generational big man and a really fast point guard would be a recipe for success in the NBA in 2023. Who'd have thought?
And basically had you set up, if you didn't let them go on a 10-0 or whatever it was, 15-3 run or whatever, to beat the team that has been your bugaboo.
You're gonna beat them by double digits.
You're gonna beat them by double digits. And honestly, I didn't get to watch a game, so I asked you about it. But what I read about the game today was that the Sixers just looked better in every phase last night, which they've never looked better in every phase of a game against the Celtics.
Yeah, I think
since Joel got here.
I think the biggest thing was honestly the bench.
Yeah.
When they would sort of go in that Robert Williams, Grant Williams, what's his name? Who would hit all the Brogdon. The Celtics just destroyed us because we had nobody we could bring out there.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's some combination of Reed, Batum, Covington. I mean, Morris played a little bit, but you still got Melton who's in and out of the rotation. Beverly. It's just more NBA players.
Well, and I think, and even aside from that, or maybe it's in addition to that, the way that Nurse does his rotations is very different than the way that Doc used his rotations. There were times when that group from the Celtics would come off the bench and he'd be like, oh, well, I'll empty my bench. Mm-hmm. Well, guy, your bench isn't as good as their bench. So the way that Nurse does it, they have rotations where Maxey and Toby are on the floor at the same time as that bench.
Yeah.
Because both of those dudes get blows in the first quarter where Joel's playing the whole first quarter. And then sitting for a good portion of the second, but they have both of those guys out there, and now Kelly Oubre's out there. And, you talk about athletic and long and a scorer, there he is. Someone pointed out the other day, just on an Oubre tangent here, that he's always been talented. He's just played on crappy teams. And hasn't really had the opportunity to play around the guys that he's playing around right now.
I think yes, just the level of talent overall in the NBA is much higher in general. But But Kelly Oubre is the 4th or 5th best player on a team. He's not meant to be the 3rd best or the 2nd best or anything like that. And on this team, that's who he is.
Yeah.
There are at least 3 guys on the court ahead of him, at least in the starting lineup.
Yes.
In Maxey, Embiid, and probably Toby. But that's where he can be. Again, we're not going to get perfect Kelly Oubre games all the time.
No,
but
he's had a couple that haven't looked as good.
Yeah, but as opposed to the team with James Harden, you now have a chance for Batum to come in and have a decent game, or Covington comes in and has a decent game, or Melton can come in and have a decent game. Instead of just, it's who's that guy who left in free agency? You loved him. The white guy, the shooter.
Oh gosh, I can.
This is terrible. I know.
George Niang.
Thank you. But
yeah.
George Niang could come in and hit a few threes for you, but he's not. He's not the same type of player that these guys are.
No, he couldn't defend.
Yeah,
he played hard, but he couldn't defend.
But there's just a difference. There's just a difference in the type of guy that they can continually rotate in and out, along with how well Maxey and Embiid are playing.
And again, I think along with the way Nick Nurse coaches, it's interesting when they come back from breaks on the nationally televised games, and how they'll show the coaches in the huddle. And we would just hear a lot of Doc saying, "Come on now, guys! Come on now, guys! We got to hustle. We get up the floor." But Nurse is actually coaching.
Yeah.
In the huddle,
and
I think it's just they're going into last night's game. I don't know if this has changed, but going into last night's game, they were one of 2 teams that were top 5 in both offensive and defensive rating.
And
different.
Yeah. I think also what the Harden trade did was set up this team the way Nick Nurse wants it to be. Nick Nurse in Toronto ran guys ragged.
Yeah.
If he didn't have guys he could throw in and out of the rotation all the time. And a big fear of mine, quite honestly, when this team did have James Harden, was that Embiid will never be healthy for the playoffs, because Nick Nurse over his years has been a guy who plays he plays his guys a lot. A lot. But you know what this allows him to do? It allows him to just get guys in and out. It allows him to put people on the floor who can keep the level of intensity that he's looking for. Nick Nurse is about, are you playing hard? Are you not turning the ball over? All those things. And when he doesn't have a deep bench, he runs his starters ragged. But now this team has at least some depth of guys who can go out there, know what they're doing, just be NBA players. Your job as a bench guy in the NBA is to not blow games when your stars are on the bench. I'm sorry. It's not it, but it's a big part of it.
Yeah.
The guys have to get rest. Even LeBron James has to sit every once in a while.
Right.
Your job as a team when those guys are off the court is to keep it together and not have these huge plus minuses when one guy or 2 guys is on the bench for any given time during the game. It's never going to be the same, obviously. When you take a Maxey and an Embiid out, your team is not going to play the same. But can you hold a 7-point lead? If you're down 5, can you make sure maybe you pull it within 4, but can it not get more than 5? That's your job. And now the Sixers have a rotation that they're able to keep a good portion of their best players in the game at all times, because they have the ability to sub guys in and out, and the guys that are going in aren't just absolute nothings.
Yeah.
And it makes a huge difference. It's the reason Boston was so scary last year. Like it is. When they would start out Horford and then bring in Williams off the bench as a big man with that kind of versatility and athleticism, you saw what it did to the Sixers. Like, you saw what happened when Brogdon would come in the game. You saw what would happen when Derek White came into the game or Grant Williams. They didn't miss a ton of beats when Tatum or Brown wasn't on the floor. That's why they were so good. And look, it's not that, like, the Celtics are not the same bench team anymore.
Right.
And it's amazing that we're saying that the Sixers bench outplayed the Celtics bench, because last year, if you said that, you're crazy.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
It would be a miracle.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Where I think this year it could become more the norm for them.
Yeah.
Tobias said, I guess it was today during a workout, they did some interviews. I saw a bunch of quotes from the entire team. You saw like Joel say, this team has no egos. We just love playing with one another. Tobias had an interesting quote. And they asked Nick Nurse about like who he thinks they should acquire, and he's like, "Oh my God, we're 7 games in." Like,
yeah, right.
We're just enjoying this right now. But Harris said that he, Joel, and Maxey were having a conversation on the sidelines during practice, and they all agreed that they legit have 15 guys who can be in the rotation. And look, I know what he's doing there. You can't say we have 14 guys. Clearly, Mo Bamba is not.
Yeah, right.
Right. I'd also argue that like Jaden Springer and KJ Martin aren't quite there yet. They can play in some matchups, but not all. But the other 12, the other 12 can play pretty much at any point, and you feel good about who's out there. Now, you want certain guys on the floor at certain times of the game, but they can all be out there and to your point, make an impact. Before we move along, I think there's one guy we have to talk about, and I'm going to read off a statistic that came across my feed today. Evan Sideri, I think his name is, or Sideri. He is a contributor for Forbes Sports, wrote for SB Nation. Listen, the guy has 22,000 followers. He's legit. I love that we grade legitimacy on
how many followers you have. Yeah. Thank God it's not the blue check that you can just pay for nowadays.
Yeah, how about it? Yeah, because you have to look really closely now.
Yeah.
Okay. So here was his tweet. Only 4 players this season are averaging at least 25 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds per game on a plus 60 total shooting percentage. Now, to give you some context, the league average total shooting percentage is 57% this year.
Okay.
Those 4 players: Nikola Jokic, my favorite player in the NBA, as we all know. Luka Doncic, he's pretty good.
Very good, also.
Devin Booker.
Yep, he's legit.
Pretty good. Tyrese Maxey. Regz. The Sixers have a homegrown star in their midst. Pick number 22 of the draft. Might be the best player from that draft when all is said and done. This kid is unreal.
Yeah. And
he's unreal.
He's not even close to finished.
Oh no. What, he's 22?
But that's what I mean. Like it's amazing. This is a lot of people talk about the second and third year of an NBA player's career. And the superstars because of the leaps they take in that second and third year. Like that's when the stars show themselves. And Maxey is doing it. He's proving that he can run a top level contender NBA team with the ball in his hand all the time. We still have a lot of season to go, but for now, he's proving that he's not going to turn the ball over all the time, which is a huge thing if you're going to have the ball in your hand that much. And he kind of went away from it against the Celtics a little bit. I think this is an area of improvement for him, which he's been better at this year, but he kind of lost it against the Celtics, is gaining more and more confidence getting to the rim and drawing fouls and finishing. He's not the biggest guy, so it's not the easiest thing, but he's certainly athletic enough to be able to do it.
Right. Yeah, he's so fast.
And to do it against everybody, not be scared if they play a team like the Celtics, which is, again, full of a lot of big dudes. Even a team like Milwaukee, who, despite them being slow, still has a decent amount of big guys. And then when you look at, on the West, obviously Minnesota comes to mind, all those things. He can't be afraid to get in there and, create some contact, draw some fouls. So, that'll be something that I hope the confidence continues to grow. But the assist to turnover ratio is what I'm focused on.
Which looks so good
forget the scoring, forget all that. I think it's like 49-8 is his assist to turnover ratio right now.
Yeah.
Something like that. Don't quote me, but I think I saw that tweet earlier today.
Yeah, I think James Harden had 8 turnovers last night alone.
Yeah, I never have to talk about him ever again. But
never again.
But that's the stuff that's important.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that's important. Because if you're going to have the ball in your hand as much as he's going to, then you have to be able to take care of possessions and take care of the ball and not throw passes that are too much. He's taking what the defense is giving him. He's making the right pass. Is he like a perfect passer? No, he is not.
Right.
But he seems to be making the right reads and at least making the right passes. Like, again, they're not right into shooters' pockets, where they like to catch it. Maybe someone has to stick an arm out here or there. Those are very subtle things, that you only look at when you're talking about the best passers alive.
Like the J kids.
And look, to James Harden's credit, James Harden put it in the exact spot that everybody wanted it.
Yeah.
As a passer. He's that good at it. So
he's 7-1 assists to turnover. So that number would check out that you just gave.
So it's just if he can keep that up and continue his confidence in getting to the rim and getting those free throw attempts, if he can live at 9 to 10 free throw attempts per game, that's so good for a guy his size. It's so good. It makes him such a more dangerous player.
94% from the.
But it makes him just such a more dangerous player when teams know he's not afraid to go in there.
Yeah. Yeah. One real quick before we move on. And again, it's super early to even say this, but when you look at this team as a whole, as a collective, the Rights to Ricky guys were saying Daryl, don't mess this up by going and getting some egotistical asshole to come in and ruin all this. Daryl did tweet back at him because he's a friend of the show and was like, don't F it up. Got it. But I think when I look at them now, and again, it's 7 games in, I don't necessarily want to see the star player acquired. I would love to see a guy who can handle the ball. And Maxey, I think that's the one place that they lack right now is a true backup point. And
it's guard defense, really.
Right. They let Pat Bev run the point when Maxey's out, or Toby will bring it up, or they'll get it up there and then just get it set with somebody random.
Right.
But that's something I'd like to see them get, because I like Pat Bev, but I don't know that he's a true ball handler.
Old.
I think he's
on the end of his career. It just is what it is.
Yeah, he's ring chasing a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Ring chasing a little bit. It's nice to see people ring chasing in Philly. And then one last thing. So their next game is tomorrow, but it's the first game of group play in that in-season tournament that they're doing. But it's weird, Reg. So this counts toward their 82 games.
Right.
The only game that doesn't count is the championship.
Yeah.
But they play game 1 of their in-season group play, and then they just go back to their regular schedule.
Yeah, it's weird.
So they play on Friday, then they play Sunday in their regular schedule. They have the Pistons and then the Pacers. And then the Pacers again. So it's a home. Oh, but that's group play. back with the Pacers.
Is it a home and home?
It is, but Tuesday is group play.
Gotcha.
So, wow, the Sixers group involves the Pacers and the
Pistons. Yeah, not a bad draw.
Not a bad draw at all.
The Pacers just beat Milwaukee, even though Giannis scored 54 points.
He scored 54. Yeah, I saw that. Good call by me. And then they get the Celtics again in Philly, right out of that. So, look, they've got 3 winnable games, and then the Celtics, they could easily be a 9-1 team going into to play Boston.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they're playing right now. So we'll keep a close eye when we come back on Thursday. We'll recap sort of these 4 games and talk about where they are. Man, if they would 2 next time we come on and be a 10-1 basketball team.
Oh,
I don't know. That
next one's in Boston,
know
right?
what to do. No, it's in Philly.
Oh, it's still in Philly? Okay.
Wednesday the 15th is in Philly. It's on
well, listen, if you want to build some tiebreakers up, now's the time to do it while you're playing them at home.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And the Sixers right now are 5-0 at Wells.
Yeah.
1-1 on the road. They have a lot of home games early. But it's on ESPN, which is great because I'll be in Wichita, so I'll be able to
that'll
watch
be
it.
awesome.
That
it was a
makes me
bummer I
happy.
couldn't watch the last one. Wasn't on any national broadcast.
I just
Celtics
wasn't
Sixers,
home.
like,
yeah, why?
Why wasn't that on any national? The Spurs versus the Knicks was on.
Oh, well, they want you to see Gumby.
I get it. He's very cool, but like, this is the,
That's all. They just wanted you to see Gumby.
I do love me some Wembanyama though.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. He is. So you got a 6-1. You got a 6-1 Sixers team, and across the street, an 8-1 Philadelphia Eagles team that most people, Regs, if you listen to them, would make you think they're 4-5.
That's true. I've heard. Listen, I'm not going to say I haven't been one of those people at times.
I think we both have
in the
been
past
at
9
times.
weeks.
We both have been.
But I've heard a few things that have sort of pulled me back. I still think there's a couple things that are glaring weaknesses that sort of can't be just sort of pushed to the side as, this is just a week-to-week thing. This week they weren't very good at it. So listen, but every football team has that, but not every football team is 8-1.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as me as a Philadelphia sports fan enjoys having things to complain about, I just think that especially with the games that we have coming up, to be 8-1 and the number 1 seed in the whole league, the whole entire game of football, is a great place to be, and everyone should be very happy about it. With 2 brand new coordinators, a defense that sometimes you don't recognize most of the guys out there, at least in the secondary, and a quarterback that has had a hurt knee for the past few weeks. So, listen, can you say that just the Eagles have gotten a little bit lucky? Sure, but all good football teams get lucky. It's how it goes.
Well, I think, we're going to get into the whole first half here. We're going to do our midseason grades. And we're going to talk about Dallas first, but the thing that I take away most from the Eagles right now is that, and we've said it on the show, you just mentioned it here, most teams with the injury luck or lack thereof, most teams with the struggles, and a quarterback playing at maybe 70%.
And your lucky. Third string right guard playing for the past several weeks.
Your third string right guard the last 2 weeks, second string for the previous 4. Your third receiver on the shelf. You were at one point you were playing 2 backup safeties.
Yeah.
At the same time against one of the best offenses in
third
football.
String slot receiver,
third string slot corners. Practice squad linebacker. And yeah, sure, there's been luck here and there, and some would tell you it's all officiating that's gotten them to this point. I disagree. I think the Eagles have
That
had some
stuff's
games that
bullshit. The
I think
officiating.
the Eagles have had some games where there's been really crappy officiating, and on their side, and they still,
Yes.
found a way. I actually thought some of the Dallas calls against the Eagles and the challenge on the Dak QB sneak. I mean, it looked clear as day that he was short. It took like 4 efforts, and the whole stadium saw it, and they still the Collin Field stands. Fine, whatever. It looked very conclusive to me. But this team finds a way, and Brian Dawkins was on the radio today, and they asked him about it. He said, "Look, like they win ugly, and good teams win ugly." He said, people forget this, but we won ugly a lot
Yeah.
when I was here. You have to win ugly. It's not all going to be 2017 where you're playing this easy schedule and you get to walk right through it.
Yeah. Or
They've
last year.
played right. And last year wasn't a difficult schedule either. So this year's a tough schedule. And we all knew that going in.
Yeah.
And we all would be more than okay at the beginning of the season at 8-1 at this point. Yeah, of course, we'd love to be 9-0, but we know that game sort of just wasn't it. But 8-1 at this point with who they've played, according to winning percentage and winning percentage only, the Eagles at this juncture have played the most difficult schedule in the NFL. And it only gets harder in the next 5 weeks. But what they've done is they've put themselves in position that if they go 3-2 in this set of games, that even if the Cowboys go 9-0 in their final 9, the Eagles would still take the division.
Yeah.
That's what the Eagles have done. So essentially, they have to beat some combination of the Chiefs on the road, who have not been that great this year.
No.
Like the defense has looked good. The offense has not looked great. The offensive line looks like it's Swiss cheese again. And this year, we'll see if the Eagles have a chance to legitimately show the world that the turf made the difference.
Right.
That's what they all kept saying, right?
Yeah.
Like, not that we believe it here on Phixated, right? But they have a chance to do that. The offensive line doesn't look good for the Chiefs. Travis Kelce is still existing.
Yes.
So that's a whole thing in and of itself. So they've got to win either a game on the road in Kansas City, a couple of games at home with the Niners and the Bills. The Bills also haven't looked great.
Mm-hmm.
The Niners haven't looked great, but they've been banged up. They're about to get everybody back. Dallas on the road and Seattle on the road. Seattle's looked awful recently. So you win 3 of those games. Even if you go 2-3, I think you and I would be like, right? Like, okay.
I think especially with Goddard being out for a significant portion of those games, it's a real bummer.
Yeah.
And I'm almost a little bit mad at him. Like, just put your damn hand down. You're running out of bounds. I know how he is. I get it.
No,
I know, but it's like you're running out of bounds anyway, man.
every week, dude's stiff arm.
Yeah.
And that injury doesn't happen because nobody ever tackles by the arm.
Right.
Ever.
I knew it as soon as it happened, and he looked at his arm. I said his arm's broken.
Well, as soon as he stayed down,
the second that he went like this and was like, I was like, yep, that thing snapped in half.
Yeah, I mean, now it's amazing that 4 to 6 weeks is. I thought he was done for the season.
Oh yeah,
but 4 to 6 weeks at the worst means divisional round of the playoffs, and I think the Eagles would take that in a moment.
Yeah.
Looking at it now, if they're wrapped up, he's not playing until the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's fine. So let's talk about that Dallas game, because there were some really good things from that game and some not so good things from that. For me, the good stuff was again Jalen Hurts.
Oh yeah.
Just what he did in that game. Look, I know what the numbers show. Dak outthrew him. I don't agree with he outplayed him. He outthrew him. Jalen still made big plays with his arm and with his legs, even though he's banged up. Jalen still did not turn the ball over.
Yep.
Put some balls right on the
Oh my
freaking
goodness, yeah.
money in some absolute windows.
That
Some
fourth down
really
throw to
tight windows.
Goddard was absurd.
Down the sideline. Yeah, that tight end outside post. Yeah.
That was an amazing catch by Goddard also, but like
Yeah.
that ball was nuts.
Yeah, that ball was right on the money.
Because like
right on the money.
Most of the time that if you throw it a half yard farther outside, Goddard can't get his feet down.
Mm-hmm.
Despite how good Dallas Goedert is, it's impossible. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
You have to put it somewhere where your guy has the ability to catch it and get his feet down.
Yeah. Yeah, he put that right. I think he tried the same thing later in the game to put it away to AJ Brown down the sideline. I didn't necessarily love that, but I mean, look, at this point, anytime you get AJ Brown one,
yeah, you
take that.
He missed a throw. He only missed like 7 of them all game. Was that one a bummer considering the situation? Yes, right. I think we can talk about that whole kind of last couple sequences, but
yeah, let's go there in a moment. One more positive that I want to point out was the defensive line, because they made plays when it mattered. You know, they pressured, they got to him a couple of times. The Josh Sweat sack on the final drive was huge. The Reddick sack on the drive before was huge. And one other play that has been talked about quite a bit, and I want to point out here on our show, was Brandon Graham busting his butt to force Dak out of bounds on the 2-point conversion. And here's something, and again, I respect Dak the player. I do. I think Dak gets a lot of unnecessary hate. But I'll tell you right now, Jalen Hurts scores on that play. Jalen Hurts scores on that 2-point conversion every time.
Yeah, it almost seemed like Dak was a little caught off guard that somebody was shoving him in the back.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm honestly, as soon as he started running, I'm like, well, that's in. I thought there was no chance.
Nope. And 35-year-old Brandon Graham, baby.
And I honestly think he was surprised. Like, you can tell, like, if he knows that someone's coming, you know he keeps his foot in and he takes a dive for the pylon.
Sure.
I really do think he did not expect anybody to be shoving him in the back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a really nice job by that defensive front again. Some things that concern me coming out of that game were their inability to close it out.
Yes.
That was tough to see because they had a chance. They had two chances.
They had 2 chances.
Yeah. And the one I'm not as crushed about, and we'll talk about that. So that bothered me. The other thing that bothered me, and so I don't want to say it bothered me. I guess it did. Clearly, it's going to be nice to get Cam Jurgens back. They tried the Tyler Steen thing. It's not fair to judge him in his first start against Micah Parsons, but I'm not specifically pointing him out. What I'm pointing out is their inability to run in this game concerned me. Actually, their inability to run the last 4 weeks has been a concern. I don't know if it's the running backs themselves, which I don't think it is. I think teams are basically picking their poison at this point and setting up to stop the run and hoping they can, get some pressure on Jalen and passing downs. I think you have to kind of, it seemed like that's what Dallas is doing. I was there live, so it's hard to tell, and I haven't watched the all 22. But I mean, the Eagles not having any success running the ball doesn't feel good because that's the way they've put teams away. When they had 6 minutes on the clock in the fourth, I was like, this is it.
Right.
They're just going to walk it down the field.
Generally, that's what we've been able to do. I do think the Jurgens thing has made a difference. I really do. And look, I think it's difficult to put, I don't know if it's too much hate on it or things like that, because the problem is I agree that it's something that's coming up that's an issue, because and I think it's only an issue because you need to have the ability to ice those games. You don't want to give the other team the ball back twice.
Right.
Especially with how banged up this secondary is and how weak they are in coverage from the linebacker level up. You can't keep relying on this defense to hold people. So the inability, and I'm only getting on it because of the inability to put the game away. I could care less if they, ran for 50 yards the whole game. Just show up in that last 5 minutes and ice the game, and I'm cool. Cool. No problem. But their inability to do that, I think, is going to be a bigger issue. And I also think you're right that teams are deciding that we're not going to get crushed by this running game, because then our offense has no chance. Every once in a while, Jalen will make a bad throw, or other teams will have the right coverage called and nobody's open. That's going to happen. It's the NFL. Nobody's going to be perfect all the time. Despite how good the Eagles' passing offense has been, there's a better chance of you being able to get a hand on a throw. Jalen may be missing something by a yard or two, as opposed to just the running game being able to chunk off 4 yards, 5 yards, 7 yards, 4 yards again, 3 yards, 1 yard tush push. And the clock is just going and going and going. And I think you're right. I think teams are deciding that we have a better chance, especially in the later part of the game, to stop the passing offense. Despite how good it's been, there's just a better chance that something will happen, that the clock will stop, or we'll be able to get off the field, as opposed to just letting them chunk off 5, 6, 7 yards at a time.
Yeah.
And I just think when you're playing guys like Sayamalu or Steen, who are coming, Opeta, thank you.
Yeah. Sam Alou looks freaking awesome in Pittsburgh.
Sorry, yes, I did put that, get that wrong. But I just think there's a difference. I think there is a difference, and I think Jalen's knee being hurt makes a difference. I think
it takes an element out of the run game.
I think that Swift, despite what we think about him, sometimes does dance around a little bit in the backfield. Again, I don't think he's getting the same holes, and he's not sort of able to hit them. But look, it's just the type of running back he is. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to see when Juergens comes back.
That's when they did their best job running the ball.
It is
when he was in the lineup.
And look, it makes a difference when guys are comfortable and guys know that they don't have to maybe the scheme doesn't call for Jason Kelce to check on the guy next to him. And I'm supposed to be over here double teaming someone or getting to the next level. But if you're a little worried about this guy holding their block enough, maybe Kelce takes a half a step that way. And then he's half a step late getting to the linebacker, who's now a half a step closer to the running back. And the whole just that's what the NFL is. The NFL moves that quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just stinks that they can't put the game away. I think that's the biggest concern for me.
Yeah, and again, I want to revisit that in a second, but before I do, just two things. The first being, here are their numbers this year as an offense. This is wild to me. Rankings, I should say, not numbers. They're number 2 in the NFL in points, which isn't changing tonight because the two teams playing aren't close. They're number 2 in yards. Number 1 in first downs, and top 5 in both rushing and passing. They have more points in 9 games this year than they did last year. I know it doesn't feel that way, everybody. I hear you entirely, but the stats are the stats, and they're still not playing their best football. So, look, they're about to play a good defense in 2 weeks. The Chiefs defense is much improved.
Yes.
So they have a good defense in the Chiefs coming on. Buffalo's defense, not great. San Francisco's defense, very good. And then they'll see Dallas's defense, who they just saw, and Seattle's defense. So, if they get Cam back, obviously losing Dallas sucks.
Yeah.
I would anticipate seeing more Julio Jones type action, especially out of a bye week. Looks like Quez Watkins is coming back. I know that not everybody about that, but he does at least give the idea of stretching the field back out there. So I think you're going to see they're going to find ways. If there was ever a time to have the Dallas Goedert injury, it was right before the bye because they have 2 weeks to sort of figure out what the offense is going to
But look,
like.
also losing Dallas Goedert hurts the run game also. Dallas Goedert is a very good blocking tight end.
But so is Jack Stoll.
Yes.
And we're not without guys who have the ability to do this. What you can also do is look, you don't have to be afraid as the Philadelphia Eagles to put an extra offensive lineman out there and say, look, we're going to run it right at you.
Yeah.
And they did it last year at times when Dallas was out. They throw another offensive line out on the field and say, we're just going to run the football right at you. Good luck trying to stop it. Because they'd kick Mailata out to like the tight end spot and put Dillard out there. So, there's no look. Yeah. Losing a Dallas Goedert it's not great. We know that. But there are ways around it. And having the 2 weeks to kind of set yourself up is a good thing.
Yes.
Now, real quickly about the Dallas situation. And then I want to talk about the thing I'm most concerned about before we go into our season rankings. The first drive to put it away would have been 99.5 yards.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew they weren't going to go far on that drive. You knew you were getting the tush push. I thought you were going to get the brotherly shove twice, actually. I thought they were going to line it up and go 3 yards, and then
see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Yep, on a 3rd and 4. But they didn't and put themselves in a weird spot. And unfortunately it didn't pan out. The second drive bothered me a little bit more. It did. And because of the fumble, that really was it 2 or 3 drives? It might have been 3 drives, Regz.
I thought it was 2.
It might have gotten, was it? I'm trying to remember.
Sure it was 2.
Was the AJ Brown drive the throw on after the brotherly shove? Was that like from the goal line? Where he threw it out of bounds? Because the fumble was 3rd down where Steen fell on it. That was at midfield.
So yes, it must have been.
Okay. So that one bothered me more because they had a good thing going, and then I don't know what that play was.
So
like we don't often see AJ Brown go in motion.
So
like
shout out Benjamin Solak of The Ringer, who also does the Ringer Philly special pod, which is great if you don't listen to it.
He's great. I love his breakdowns.
He's great. He tweeted that they ran that play earlier in the game and got 8.5 yards with the exact same play with AJ coming in motion. For whatever reason, something happened in the snap.
Timing.
The timing was off. But he literally tweeted the play. It's the exact same play with AJ coming in that motion, and Swift gets 8 yards.
I mean, look, if it works,
right,
the game's pretty much over.
It's worst case scenario. I literally think DeAndre Swift was out cold for a second.
Yeah, he definitely looked like
AJ caught his shoulder, which AJ's not a small human, caught him right in the chin of that helmet.
Yeah. Well, and again, you get that first down, and that's it. Dallas had no more time.
Yes.
So it was
a worst case scenario in that situation.
It was because honestly, and I'd be curious your thoughts on this. And it's not like a tough thing. It's just a yes or no. But even if he gains 3 yards there, they're probably going for it on 4th and 1. I know where they are on the field.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Regz, they're probably going for it.
There's a chance.
I think Nick Sirianni is.
And the only reason that is because Sirianni knows they need a touchdown to win and not a field goal.
Right. And I think if it's a field goal, sure, you don't
of course
do it. But in that spot, you know that your play wins that. Now, here's the other thing that you have to consider. And another reason why I'm happy that there's 2 weeks. Who's the guy always flanking Jalen's left on the brotherly shove?
Dallas
Goedert. So that's going to be churning through your head you are, now to be fair, he wasn't out there on the one from the goal line.
Who was it?
So I
it
think it was
DeAndre
AJ.
and AJ?
I think it was, because AJ sometimes flanks his left. If they're trying to get up to the line to do it right away and Goddard's not on the field, then AJ's usually.
Yeah.
So
it might
usually
be AJ and Swift doing it now.
Swift and then Devontae like comes from like way behind and just just runs right through people. So here's my biggest concern, Ray. And it's not the secondary itself. It's the matchups in the secondary. And I think this is coaching, and this is something we're going to see if they scout and fix. It should not have taken 3.5 quarters to say, you know what? Darius is going wherever CeeDee Lamb goes.
Yep.
And it shouldn't take Darius going to the sideline and saying, if CD goes to the slot, I'm going with him. And that's what happened.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Someone, I don't know if it was written or he said it on his podcast, but he went to Nick and said, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm following him. That's it. Like, look, man, Eli Ricks played fine in small moments. CeeDee Lamb's too damn good.
All right, it's an undrafted free agent. And look,
CeeDee Lamb's too damn good.
And what's his name? Why can't I remember that safety?
Byard?
No, the young guy.
Sidney Jones?
Yeah, Sidney Brown.
Sidney Brown. Sidney Jones was the dude for
Sidney Brown can't cover people. That's not what he's good at. You can't line him up against CD Lamb. Like, you just can't do it. I agree with you completely. I don't know why Desai didn't realize this sooner. I don't know why. Like, this is why we hated Gannon so much, because he's just like, nope, this is what we run, and this is it.
Yeah.
Desai has shown an ability. Desai has shown a willingness to do different things. I don't know why this wasn't one of them.
Right.
Like, who's killing you on the outside for the Cowboys if you just put one of your best players on CeeDee Lamb? Nobody. You'd much rather Sidney Brown or Eli Ricks covering anyone else but CeeDee Lamb. Anyone else. Who cares what happens at that point?
Yep, nobody. I mean, look, here it is. I mean, Ferguson had a big game, 7 for 91.
Listen, the middle of the Eagles can't cover the middle of the field.
Well, that's why I'm so concerned about Travis Kelce. Kelce's
exactly.
Freaking heyday. Michael Gallup, 2 for 19. Brandon Cooks, 1 for 7. Hasn't been the same since Malcolm Jenkins knocked his lights out in the Super Bowl. Turpin had the touchdown, the 1 for 5. Jalen Tolbert
again on a bad coverage play by Sidney Brown. Turpin had that touchdown. He had inside help and he bit on an inside move.
Tolbert, that was right in our end zone.
Yeah.
3 for 49 with the touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, 11 for 191 yards.
I'd love to know the breakdown of who was covering him for all those.
I mean, you could probably find
I'm sure you could.
I remember Slay being on him for one. The biggest play was the 4th and 1 where they had Ricks on him and Ricks bit under.
Yes.
And he went for like 30, 40 yards on that.
Yeah.
He got down inside the 5. To me, I think, there are teams where now, and Roby will be back after bye. But still, even then, when you play the Cowboys, Bradley Roby is talented. He's fine.
Line him up on any of those other guys.
Here's the thing. He can't play outside.
Why not?
And he can't. He's a nickel corner.
But would you rather Slay be on Lamb and just take your chances with the other guy?
I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I'm also saying like the difference between he and like Ricks, I think the one thing you have to consider is there are certain packages where you can't sub out, right? So you're going to have to get stuck in a situation. But here's what should never happen. Because again, if you get Bradley Roby on CeeDee Lamb, at least he's a solid veteran.
Yeah.
Like, it's very different than Ricks. The things that can never happen are Kevin Byard on
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
Sidney Brown
Right.
on CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
I mean, for Christ's sake, there were linebackers on CeeDee Lamb at times. That can't happen.
Yeah, it just can't be it. Yeah.
Like, that's the Achilles heel right now, are these matchups. And they have to be better at recognizing it and getting out of them on the field.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get stuck. Teams are going to start putting them in those scenarios. So when teams do that, there's got to be a way out.
Yeah.
And what that is probably depends on the personnel in the field. But it should and it probably won't be moving forward, Sidney Brown, in those spots. He just got caught in coverage a couple of times, but they've got to find ways to avoid that from happening.
Yeah.
And with Roby coming back, they should be able to do that. But
well, hopefully this film just shows them like we got to have something. You know what I mean?
I mean, and not many teams' best receiver is the slot guy. But I will tell you this right now, you can bet your ass twice. And then again, that Deebo Samuel will line up in the slot.
Oh my God, yeah.
When they play the 49ers.
Absolutely.
Like, they will line him up everywhere.
Yeah.
In that game, Darius Slay needs to just be wherever he goes.
So it's a box and one. Just follow him wherever he goes.
Wherever he goes. Just, I don't care where he is on the field. Let Roby follow Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I don't care. But you want to beat the Niners, you got to shut down Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
You want to shut down Deebo Samuel? It's got to be Darius Slay.
Yeah.
Has to. Done. All right. Look, we got to get to these grades.
Yeah,
here.
we're an hour in.
We still got the fills to hit on. So we're going to run through these pretty quickly. Let's start with just coaching overall. We're going to couple or triple Sirianni, Desai, and Johnson all into one. What do you got? I'll have you go first this time. I'll go first after.
A B.
We are right in stride to start this whole thing, man.
There's room for improvement for both coordinators, but you have to take into account that they're both brand new and the team is 8-1.
Yeah, and I also I want to point this out too. I think just, from a pure Sirianni standpoint. Here are the 2021 head coaches that were hired. Urban Meyer, 2-11, he was fired right away. David Culley was 4-13, fired after that. I think he was the Texans guy.
Oh.
Robert Saleh, 15-27. Arthur Smith, 18-25 in Atlanta. Dan Campbell, 18-23 in Detroit. That team they're fine. Brandon Staley, 23-19 in LA. Nick Sirianni, 31-12. 4 of those losses have come in 2 years. He's just fine, Regz.
Yeah.
He's just fine. All right, quarterback, I'll go first. I have A-. And look, some of this is a result of the injury. He's not running with the same authority as he has in years or last year. I won't say years past. Last year. I'm curious to see if the bye does him good, if the bye will heal him, or if this is going to be the rest of the sort of a battle. He's turned over the ball a little bit more. Again, 3 of the picks that he has, I think he has 8 this year. 3 of them came in that Jet game, and 2 of them weren't his fault. So I still think Jalen is the guy. I think they'll continue to win with Jalen, but A-, and I think that's, I think a lot of that's injury caused.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think my initial thought was an A, and the reason it's not an A+ is because of some of the turnovers. The ones that are his fault, like the fumbles, things like that.
Yeah. But he still makes some ridiculous
But he's
throws.
still a top 5 NFL quarterback.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And this is his 3rd season.
And we just never thought it was possible.
Yes.
All right, you're up, running back. So you're coupling everybody here.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a C+, and that's only because DeAndre Swift has been pretty good.
Yeah, I got him at a B. Interesting. It's interesting with the C plus. I think, yeah, Swift has been really good. I think Gale's had moments. Obviously, we want him to stop fumbling the football, but I think he's had moments. Boston Scott in
Yeah.
they're again, they're still top 5 in the NFL in rushing, and a lot of that, but still got to have guys who can run the football. So, I went with a B.
We're not that
we're a
far
little
off.
different there.
We're not that
Yeah.
far off. What's up?
I'm up next. Wide receiver. I got A, man. Like, AJ Brown's one of the best in football. I think they're, if not the best duo, they're right behind.
Yeah, I agree.
Tight end, you're up.
I mean, I really only base this on Dallas Goedert, and I'm going to give an A to A. I don't know why I would give an A minus, but I'm going to give an A. Like, Dallas Goedert, despite him not being involved, maybe the first few weeks, that's not Dallas Goedert's fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And when he has been involved, he's been just as good as we've wanted him to be. So I don't really know how you can fault Dallas Goedert in this.
Yeah, I had it an A minus, and I just did that because and the other guys just don't really exist. So there's some pulling down there. And look, he's had moments where he's dropped balls this year, which is uncharacteristic of him. Early in the season, and he had a couple big ones. Jets on a drive, they were really moving. So, well, it wasn't really a fumble; it was more of a drop that turned into a pick. But yeah, I think that's fair. Offensive line, Regz, I have an A minus again here, and some of that is just injury stuff, but I just don't think they've been as good.
Yeah.
It feels like Jalen's pocket is collapsing quite a bit more this year than normal. I think Lane might be playing hurt. I think he's playing on a bummed ankle, so 2 weeks is going to do wonders for him. Of course, the Cam Jurgens injury is. I think Landon Dickerson's been just as good as he was last year, if not better. But I think Mailata at times has taken steps back this year.
Yeah.
But he's also looked like an all-pro too.
Yeah.
I think it just depends on who they're playing.
I had this as a B. I think there's been many more times than last year where guys have looked very gettable. Whether it be Mailata, even Kelsey has had an off game here or there. Again, obviously the right guard thing makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. But even with Jurgens, their running game was really good, but their pass blocking was not very good in those first couple games. Like, it was weird. Like, you'd watch the game and we texted about this. You'd be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So,
and some of that was those obscure schemes.
Yes, you're right. But listen, we're not giving them a D or anything like that.
No,
and we're grading on a very high curve here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, let's jump to the defensive side of the ball here. We'll come from the backside in and start with the safety position. It's you to start.
C.
What's that?
C.
Yeah. I had him at it. I had him at a C minus.
Yeah, I think if you're taking into account the first, like, I may be projecting a little bit that I think they will be better with Byard. It's his second week. They're still figuring it out. Reed has been just fine, but the weaknesses of this group as a whole in coverage are just very glaring. And you see them time and time again.
Yeah, they just have to be better.
They're just not an elite group. They're just not. And if you're going to say that, then I think they're very middle of the road right now.
Yeah. Byard could be really helpful in a Travis Kelce matchup. He could be really helpful.
Yeah.
You've seen him before, and he's a decent cover guy. All right. Corners is me. And Regz, I got to tell you, man, and I love both of them. So this is not a slight on either one of them. Look, part of this is just I'm frustrated with Avonte, too, because he's just never freaking helped. But I got him as a C, man. Like, it has been not great. Neither of these. And some of this could be on coach. Just the position that they're put in.
So, yeah.
But I just haven't seen him as effective this year.
I was going to say C+, and the only reason, and this is again one of those stats I talked about earlier, the Eagles have been thrown on almost as many times as they were all of last year.
Yeah.
In 9 games.
Yeah. They're the most thrown on team in the NFL,
yes.
I think.
So look, despite that being the case, Bradbury has looked very bad.
Yeah.
Like to the point where I don't know what's going on. He's constantly caught with his head not turned around. He's getting beat all the time. Slay has played much better than Bradbury.
He has.
When we've seen guys get open
separately, you're probably looking at an A- and a D.
Yes. That's the disparity though.
Yeah.
Slay, when guys have gotten open, it's generally been zone coverage. Like, he's not getting beat one-on-one a ton. Bradbury, teams are just throwing the ball up to his guy because they know he's not getting his head turned around. Like, it's very weird. It's very weird, and he has not played well. I don't know how much we can get on guys like Roby and Ricks coming in for Avante. Obviously, we're frustrated with Avante that he can't just stay healthy and help this team. If Slay wasn't playing the way that he is, this might be in the D as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Slay is the only thing pulling this group out of that area.
Yeah. Yeah, he honestly, otherwise it would be, and again, some of my frustration is Avante is just never on the field.
Yeah.
He's just never on the field. And the only kind of ability I appreciate is availability.
Health is a skill.
It is. All right. Linebacker. That is you.
C-, possibly D+. This group cannot cover one lick. They've been pretty good in blitzing and run coverage, so that's the one sort of positive that you can take away from that. But this is not a good. This group has not been good. They just haven't.
Nakobe Dean done for the year.
Done for the year, really?
Yeah, you can't. Well, you can come back a second time from the RR. I believe that's changed. It used to be that you can't, but it's a South rank injury.
Yeah.
I mean, chances of him coming back not super high. I actually have him as a B- based on expectation.
Okay.
I think Zach Cunningham has been phenomenal, actually. Like, I think Cunningham's been really good considering what I thought we were going to get. Morrow hasn't been good the second time around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was fine to start. We're starting to see some holes. He's missing a lot of tackles. But I thought Cunningham's been really good overall. So I went with a B-, sorry. Defensive line, I got it as an A, man. I think they're the best unit on the team.
Completely agree.
I mean, they're unbelievable. Top to bottom.
I think the only nitpick you could have, again, this is a very Philadelphia nitpick, but like there are some games where they just show up in the last 4 minutes. And listen, they make the game-winning plays. So again, as I said, this is being very nitpicky.
Yeah.
But you just almost wish that, like, could you have like 4 sacks before the 4 minutes start? And like maybe just let the game, like let us be up by 14 instead of like 5 or 4 or whatever it is.
I will say there's probably some extra motivation these next few weeks for them when they play some certain teams. One being the Chiefs because of the whole Super Bowl thing. So there might be a little added mojo to them getting to Mahomes. The other game that I think you'll see them shine is that San Francisco game.
Yeah.
Because all the nonsense that the Niners talked about.
Yeah.
You know,
and their boy Milton being over there now.
Right. Mm-hmm. No, not Milton.
Not Milton. What's his?
I know. Yeah, this is bad that we can't remember.
Milton's still on the team, isn't he?
Yeah, Milton's still on the team and he's been really good. It'll come back. It'll come to us. He was the big money guy that we didn't pay. Instead, we got Jalen Carter, and
yep.
he's
Hold
probably
on.
been just as good.
Hold on.
We're getting there.
We're getting
He's
there.
getting-
Hold on.
It's gonna. I can picture him.
Oh God.
The jerk.
Help. Why is this taking so long?
I don't know. In the meantime, I'll go to kicker and punter. Can I tell you that man has actually been really?
He has been pretty good, hasn't he?
I think his last 2 punts the other night were both 55+ yards.
Yeah. Javon Hargrave.
Yeah, Javon Hargrave. So I actually gave him an A.
I mean, compared to whatever the other guy was.
Yeah, well, he wasn't good at all.
Yeah.
He who shall not be named. And then listen, the only A+ I give is Jake Elliott.
Yeah. Perfectly fine with that.
I mean, he's had one critical miss. Other than that, he's been Jake freaking Elliott.
Yeah.
He's been Jake freaking Elliott. So there are ratings for the Birds midway through. Big 5-game stretch coming up. Go 3-2 and then win out after that. And
do you want to go through it real quick and say what we think will happen now that we've seen 9 games?
I'd love to. I'm so glad that you said that. Did you see how happy I got when you said that?
I did.
My eyes got big.
I see the
really
twinkle
excited.
now. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do this at the very least here. You know what we haven't heard from at all? Keely Ringo, by the way. Where's he been?
I don't know. On the practice squad?
I guess. All right. Here's what we did have. We both had a loss to Kansas City. You had it as your coin flip game.
I still believe
Good
that.
for you. I had mine as a coin toss with the Jets. So technically I'm
look at
9-0
you.
right now.
Look at you.
Yeah, I'm 9-0. Look at me. You had Dallas as the lock. Look at you.
The win. Yeah.
You had a lock win there.
Look at me.
All right. Look at us, dude.
That's
good for us. Yeah, good for us. You had the Jets game as a loss too, Regz. You had the Jets game
Crushing it.
We're both 9-0.
Crushing it. Somebody pay us to do this for a living.
Look at us.
Somebody do
All
it.
right. So you have KC as the coin flip game, but you have it as a loss. We both had Buffalo as a loss as well. We both had San Francisco as a win. That was my lock. You had Dallas as a win. That was neither lock. And we both have Seattle as a loss. So we have them 2-3 initially in this stretch. What do you got right now?
I would change the Bills to a win and Seattle to a win. I would keep Dallas away as a loss.
You have it as a win.
Oh, that's what I'm switching. I'm switching that to a loss.
Okay.
So
are we making this an actual switch or just like,
Oh no, this is just like after 9 games, this is just what I'm thinking now in the moment.
So I'm putting these in parentheses.
As opposed to when we started the season.
Yeah, I'm just going to put them in parentheses.
I think they could beat Kansas City. I still think it's a coin flip, but I think there's a better chance than when we made those predictions at the beginning of the season.
So you're saying you think they're going to win that game?
Well, I still think it's a coin flip. I don't know.
I agree with you. I have it as a coin flip right now.
I don't know, but I have more confidence that they could win that game than I did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
The Buffalo game, I think they can win that game, especially at home.
I actually think it's a win now.
Yeah,
I do.
I agree. I think they still beat San Francisco at home.
I have that as a still freaking lock for me.
And then I just think that, look, the Cowboys played them well. And I think I still think they lose that game.
I can't because I predicted them to win.
That's fair.
All 6 of their division games, so I'm not turning.
That's
on
fine.
Now.
I completely.
And I do think that might be a game the Eagles I don't know. That might be like the wake up game for them, in some way. And I agree with you that Seattle I think is a win.
I think Seattle's a win now.
So then they go into the final 3: Jets, Arizona, Giants, and I think both say
yes
that those are 3 wins.
Yes.
So maybe not that Giants game if they already
right.
Had
that's the asterisk.
Then then it's Mariota and a bunch of Jabrams.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, we gotta get into this Phil stuff here.
Yep.
So next week we're gonna do our ideal offseason about the whole gauntlet of what I think, what would be the best possible scenario for the Phillies.
Yep.
But man, the rumors have started to fly.
They have started.
Dombrowski today we're not going to get into this, but talked about how they would love to re-sign Nola, but They don't know if it's going to happen. They'll go a different direction. They've thrown names out there. Sources have thrown names out there of other pitchers they'd be interested in. Feels like they're putting a lot of pressure on Nola early in the offseason here. It looks like they want to tie that up right away so they can because this is really early for rumors to be for people to be out there saying Sonny Gray, people to be out there saying that get what's his name from San Diego,
Snell,
to tie them to Corbin Burns, like all these things, right? Like it's early for these sources to be out there saying these things, and I think that's Dombrowski basically putting pressure on Nola's camp and saying, let's cut the crap. Like,
well, yeah. Did you hear how much though they're asking?
Well, John Heyman said they're $100 million apart.
7 for 30, like 7 at 30 a year.
Yeah, but if Nola was asking for 210, and we're saying that the Phillies were only offering 110, there's no way the Phillies are only offering Aaron Nola 110. No way. That's a slap in the face to that guy.
Yeah.
110's a joke. In today's starting pitching market, for a guy who like legitimately like throws what he throws in terms of innings. I saw a tweet tonight. I'm going to pull it up real quickly. I think I saved it.
What about 5 for 150?
That to me is far better than 110.
Yeah.
You know, where's this Nola tweet from earlier? This blew.
I just don't think Nola's worth $30 million.
Okay, so the other two names that came up were Sonny Gray and Blake Snell, right?
Yeah.
All right. Batters faced third time through the lineup last 6 regular seasons.
I saw this. Yep, I saw this.
Sonny Gray 657, Blake Snell 598, Aaron Nola 1,122.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say. Some of that could be managing as well. Some of that could just be based on the manager and their decisions to roll guys out there. But Sonny Gray's like 35.
Yeah.
Blake Snell I think he's like 31, 32. He's like Aaron's age, I'm pretty sure. But he's a different pitcher than Aaron.
Yeah.
And they're saying that he's going to get 7 years. So, I don't know, man. I hear you entirely. But I just think the Phillies have a different scope on the Aaron Nola thing. I don't want him for 7 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, and he might price himself out of Philly. He very well might.
Yeah.
But we're gonna talk about that next week. The conversation tonight is Nick Castellanos, because for the second year in a row, there's stuff out there, sources saying that the Phillies would be open to trade him. And look, man, we love Nick.
Yeah,
we are Nick guys. I tweeted today, like, I would not be surprised by this. I'd be broken by it, but I would not be nearly as surprised as on social media acting right now. If you listen to Dave Dombrowski in his like State of the Union after the season, he was very clear on the idea that the changes this offseason have to be around plate approach and not chasing. When you think about this roster, there were 3 guys who consistently chased in the postseason. Yeah, there are guys who did sporadically, like, Real Muto did it from time to Stott did it from time to time.
Bryce unfortunately did it in that Arizona series.
Yeah, because he was pressing, and I want to talk about that in a second. Turner did it, but Turner's done it his whole career. The difference being most times he makes contact. This year he didn't for some.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate that becoming the natural trend for him. Rojas did it because Rojas is not ready for that moment or that type of pitching. But this is Nick Castellanos. And look, you can work on that approach with a Rojas. You can work on that approach with a Stott. You can work on that approach with a Brandon Marsh. Bryce Harper's never going to get stuck in that approach. It's going to happen, but he's not going to get stuck there. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, Regz. And if they find the right deal for Nick Castellanos, it would not surprise me if they did it. Again, it would upset me, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Because they do need a facelift in terms of their approach at the plate. It's what kept them out of the NLCS. And look, people could argue all day long that Nick got them to the NLCS. And I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree with that. What I would say is, for as good as he was in the NLDS, he was probably worse in the NLCS.
Yeah.
So, and what I want to say about the Bryce thing, it becomes a trickle effect. When you get a guy who's chasing, and then you move up in the order, right? Like you got the guy. So they feel like Nick's struggling so much right now that I have to do it. And then they're swinging at shit. And the guy in front of him, who's Bryson Stott, who never swings at shit, is now swinging at shit because the two guys behind him are both swinging at shit. And then the guy in front of him, Alec Boehm, who's also really good at his approach, especially with runners on base, is now swinging at shit. And the guy in front of him, who's a future Hall of Famer, is sitting there and saying, well, no one else is doing it.
Yeah.
And they're paying me a lot of money, so I'm going to. It becomes this domino effect of crappy approaches.
Yeah.
And it becomes a mind game. So what you need are guys throughout the order who have the same approach. The Phillies have a lot of those guys. What makes the Phillies good when they're good is pitchers have to grind every single at bat. They grind through Schwarber to get to Turner, and then they have to deal with Turner. They grind through Turner to get to Bryce. And they grind through Bryce to get to Alec Boehm. And they grind through him to get to Stott. And then they, but when they get to Nick,
yeah,
they can throw whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
And again, this is not me. I'm not a Nick basher. I love Nick. It's just who he is as a player. So it would not surprise me if the right deal came along and they can dump that money. The only hesitancy that I have is now you have to find two outfielders.
Right.
And look, I will tell you that my offseason, he does go. He goes. At least right now. I'm on my first draft. You know I do like 7
You do.
drafts of
I
these.
know.
So he might end up staying. I want him to stay, but I just, hearing the state of the team, I don't know if he's gonna. I really don't know. Your floor's yours on the Nick thing.
I'm completely with you. It's a huge bummer. I think the city has really embraced him. I think he, despite maybe wanting to be in Miami, like has come to love this place. Look, I think the biggest part is like we saw it the first half of the year. We saw what this guy can be when it doesn't happen. Like we saw what it can be, but I'm saying for a more prolonged period of time. Like the NLDS was 4 games, but we saw it over 80. We saw it over 81 games in the first half of the year. Like we saw that guy that we desperately wanted to be there after 2022 when he was a nothing throughout the whole playoffs. We're like, oh, he had his time. He was uncomfortable, but this is the guy that we signed for $20 million. This is the guy. And then it just went away the second half of the year. And I get it. It came back for 4 games there in the DS. I know it did. But if you just look at the whole second half of the year, it was such a difference. And it's such a bummer because the guy can, like, when he puts his mind to something, he can do it. Look at his play in the outfield. Yeah. Look at the work he put in to get better out there. Like, how many times did we rag on Nick Castellanos, the right fielder, this year? I can't remember any, honestly.
We were mad he wasn't a Gold Glove nominee.
But, like, that's what I mean. We know this guy can adjust. But there's just been too much evidence that he just reverts back to this guy at the plate. And it's a bummer because we know what the other side looks like.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And we love him.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it tough. I'm completely with you that I understand why. I understand why, because if you're going to have a guy hitting 7th, those guys' job is to put the ball in play to turn the lineup over.
or get on base.
Exactly. Just
find a way.
get on base. Like, that's your job. And if you're going to be paying a guy $20 million, it's not to hit seventh and strike out.
Right.
It's just not.
Right.
So I understand it. It also sucks because of what the kind of leader that he's become for this team. And especially if what we're going to talk about next, like if we are losing Rhys Hoskins, I don't want this team to lose two leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Two leaders like Rhys and Nick at the same time would be like a real bummer.
Yeah, I want to talk to that real quickly.
Yes. Keep going.
To the Rhys thing. I think a culture is a culture. And when you bring guys into a really, you find a way to, the culture sort of embraces. So I think in this sense, the leadership capacity that they've built in that clubhouse goes beyond just one or two guys. It starts with the manager, who they all love. The culture will bring other dudes in, and it'll work itself out, right? There are still leaders in that clubhouse. We know Kyle Schwarber is one. We've heard that. We've seen that. He is one. We know Bryce Harper is looked up to. He leads in a very, very different way, but he's looked up to in that clubhouse. I think we heard about how JT is like the guy. The announcers talked about it all the time, and we kind of looked cross-eyed at it. But if they're saying it, that means it's being said to them by somebody in the clubhouse that they've talked to, that JT is the general of the team. So there are three veterans right there, right? Three veterans right there that you look at. The other thing you have to consider is you have up-and-coming younger players that could be ready for that type of a role. Brandon Marsh looks like a leader in the making. So does Bryson Stott. I don't think Bomer quite has that part of him yet. And maybe it's just not who he is. But the other two definitely do. And depending on who you bring in, and I look at some of the names, and I'm not going to off season now. We'll wait till next week. But one of the guys that I have, I think, is a perfect fit for Philadelphia. He's perfect. And he's a guy you could bring on no matter Nick Castellanos' outcome. If Nick's here, he can come. If Nick's not here, he can come. He's perfect for this city, for this team. He's perfect. He's exactly what they need personality-wise. He's exactly what they need lineup-wise. So I hear you. That's tough to lose those two guys, for sure. We read all the great stuff about Nick. We see all the cool things he does with his kid. He's my favorite player on the roster. But this window's this window, and it's open right now. And look, he's not the reason they lost by any stretch. They all didn't hit.
Yeah.
It was just so clear that every time he came up, there was no prayer. At least the other guys, you were like, outside of Rojas.
Yeah.
The other guys, there was still like just a shred of hope. Mm-hmm. Like even Trey, who was going through.
Yeah.
Like there was still a shred of hope because Trey was putting the ball in play.
Yeah.
Like Nick just was never there. The ball wasn't even going in play.
Yeah.
So I hear you.
I'm with you. I think we really are on the same page.
So let's dive into the Rhys thing real quickly. Bryce made the announcement, or not Bryce, but Dave made the announcement before they were all sent home due to this stomach bug that like ran through Miami, or I guess that's where. But he talked about talking to Bryce and saying that Bryce from here on out will play first base. And look, he said we're not going to close the door on Rhys, but like you're closing the door on Rhys.
Yeah.
If you're saying Bryce Harper's the first baseman from here on out,
well,
you're closing the door.
Let's break that down just a little bit for maybe anybody who wasn't as on top of it. Dave, I believe, had an interview on WIP, right?
Yeah, I think it was
where he
WIP.
said they had a lengthy sit down with Bryce Harper at Citizens Bank Park to discuss, I'm sure, a lot of things. The thing that came out of that meeting was Bryce told them, I'm willing to play wherever. I feel good. My arm feels good. I'm willing to play wherever you guys feel like I can help the team the most. Dave said that the team told Bryce, we want you to play first base and first base only. And there are many reasons for that. One, he seems like he could be pretty good at it. Two, it certainly helps their defense as a whole for him to be there and not have him and Castellanos in the outfield at the same time. Three, it preserves his surgically repaired arm. You're not making the same types of intense throws from first base that you are from right field.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, because he's not running around the outfield, it prolongs his career a little bit. It prolongs his legs a little bit. So
yes.
That's just the background on it. If for anyone who maybe didn't catch the entire sort of context of it.
I think the most important one is the lengthening. I think that's what they're really hoping to do through this process. He just the wear and tear of playing the outfield every day is, it's a lot.
Like,
and
look, you have to sprint for a long distance. You know what I mean? The throws are harder.
Yes. So I think it's the right move in terms of Bryce Harper.
Yes.
But again, the plan has to be that if you're saying Bryce is going to play first base and you're putting Nick Castellanos on the block, you have to have a plan to bring in two outfielders
who can give you 30 home runs each.
Yeah, I don't think 30 home runs each.
Maybe at least
30
one of
home
them.
runs.
Yeah,
30 home runs. One of them has to, because you didn't get 30 home runs from Yohan Rojas and Christian Pache last year, who were, and Jay Cave, who were your third outfield pretty much all year.
Yeah.
So you don't need, I think probably between the three of them, they hit 10.
I just said that in the situation where you put Bryson right, Castian left, and Rhys at first.
Yeah, I guess but you didn't even have Rhys this year.
No, I understand that. Yeah. I'm just in the hypothetical situation that's what your lineup looks like.
Sure. Yeah, I think.
But
that's fair.
I understand that's not what you're solving for because you made the NLCS without that.
Right. I think essentially what you're looking for, replacing, if that is in fact what happened, and Rhys are both, I think what you're looking to replace is 130 home run guy and trying to add 5 and 8. Like you're trying to get like a 15 to 20.
Yeah, but just a guy who puts the ball in play all day long.
Right, and I have the perfect guy for it.
Can't
wait.
Can't wait to hear it next week.
You already know who it is. I texted it to you. but I think it's that's the plan. And again, even if Nick's there, doing that and putting someone like I have in the plan out there, that replaces Yohan Rojas in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have one guy who's chasing Nick, and then the rest of the lineup, they're probably not.
Yep.
Because it's the way that it rolls out. So ultimately, our point here is that Bryce saying he's playing first base is the preeminent goodbye.
Yeah.
To Rhys Hoskins. So I was going to do my fixated there, but I wanted to lend you the opportunity to say anything. Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah, mine will be very brief. I don't think anyone could say enough about what him and his wife did for this community of Philadelphia. I don't think you can say enough about what this guy went through to get to 1 year of playing in it and 1 year of watching what he always hoped would happen for this team.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't be more bummed out with what happened to him in spring training. I couldn't be more bummed out about it, that he has to go out like that. I think that's the thing I'm most upset about, is that's how Rhys Hoskins had to go out from this team, was getting hurt like that. And this is what I tweeted. I will never forget the sound of the stadium when he hit that home run off Strider. I was in left field in the 100s. You can see my green Phixated sweatshirt in the video of that home run. And my son standing right next to me. That sound will be burned into my brain forever. I will be 96 years old, and you could ask me about that moment, and I will describe it to you in vivid detail. That is how I will remember Rhys Hoskins on this team. That is the lasting memory for me of that guy. So wherever he ends up, I wish him nothing but the best. I really wish he could have gone out like on his own 2 feet from this team. I really do, because I think he deserved it as the type of guy he was, as the type of teammate he was, as the type of player he was. But no one in Philadelphia should ever root against Rhys Hoskins.
Well said, man. That's a tough one to follow.
I believe in you.
For me,
you're a best-selling author.
Thanks, man. For me, Rhys, they were one game away from a potential Rhys return in the World Series. And my hope, my dream, like for this season, was the Pat Burrell send-off. You know, Burrell and Rhys had very similar trajectories in Philadelphia. They both came up as like the red hot, prospect, and had phenomenal rookie seasons, both of them. And like when Rhys came up and just went on that like Ruthian tear where like every at bat he hit a home, it was finally the moment in like, it was like, all right, it's go time. Like we're ready. Like we finally have the dude. Like we've been through like Michael Franco, who was like so up and down, and Cesar Hernandez was like kind of all those guys that we were waiting for to come make an impact never did. And then Rhys came and he made the impact, made it consistently. And he made it with such a passion for the franchise, for the fan base, and for the community that, like you said, he was so easy to fall in love with and so easy to enjoy as a guy. He had moments, right? Like he had moments where like he yelled at fans during the Yankees series and stuff, but it showed just like his true love of this game and his passion when things weren't going well. Like, how badly Rhys Hoskins wanted. That was always evident. Like, always evident. And I remember when Bryce became a free agent, like immediately, they started like tweeting at each other and Instagramming and, oh my gosh, Rhys Hoskins is going to be they believe was the reason that we got one of the big reasons. And there are a lot of Rhys Hoskins moments. Like I think back to Bryce's first game against the Braves, and they intentionally looked Bryce late in the get to Rhys. They literally loaded the bases to get to Rhys, and on like the second, Rhys hit one to like Harry the Case, and I was like, "This is so freaking awesome!" Like Rhys Hoskins is like gonna go off now, and he had some injury stuff like from that point. Like he had to end his season early. He had the abdominal strain the year before they went through the playoffs and didn't get to play down the stretch. And when they finally made it, right, who was the one guy we all wanted to hear the Rhys Hoskins reaction to making the postseason. And I remember like how emotional he was talking about it and how excited he was about finally getting the city that was his home to the postseason and the fans that had become like family postseason. It was so well said and so emotional. And as a fan, like that's the stuff that like he has been our family for like 10 years. Like Rhys Hoskins has been in this organization for like a decade. I know like we're going to have a hard time if we have to do Nola, but I don't think I'm going to have nearly as hard as I am with Rhys.
Yeah.
Nola is awesome for a lot of reasons. Nola doesn't quite connect to Philadelphia the way that Rhys does.
Yeah.
And all I wanted for Rhys was the Pat Burrell.
Yeah.
I wanted Rhys to have the Pat Burrell moment so badly. I wanted him to ride down Broad Street leading the parade. And I thought we were going to get it. And we were a game short of getting there to have a shot for him to do that. And to have a shot to run out on the field one more time in front of the fan base. I'm grateful that he got to throw out the first pitch. I'm grateful that he got to raise the flag. I'm glad he got the moments he got this year. And I know the organization wasn't about doing it. But Rhys, man, like, God, we're going to miss you so much. Like, just, I know many fans out there had issues with his defense and issues with his streakiness. You're not going to find another dude as good as Rhys Hoskins, as good as Rhys Hoskins. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Top to bottom. All around good dude. And this city was lucky to have him here for as long as we had. There are not many players that we have the opportunity to say that. We went through a really between players that we can say that about and more players that we could say it about.
Mm-hmm.
And Rhys is a dude who like will forever be loved here in this city for all the right reasons. And I hope every time he comes back, he gets the same reaction that Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins. Yeah. Because he deserves that.
Yes, he does.
He deserves that. That standing ovation better be long and loud. Hoskins returns to Citizens Bank Park. So Rhys, we love you. We appreciate you for everything that you did in Philadelphia. And if by some miracle you come back, awesome. And if you don't, no matter where you are, you'll always be a Philly. I don't care what it says on your jersey. You will always, always, always be a Philadelphia Philly. We love you, Rhys. We love you, man.
Amen.
So we appreciate you all listening. We'll be back on Thursday with a preview of Eagles Chiefs. You will get my off-season predictions.
It's one of my favorite podcasts.
Yeah, we will dive into what the heck the Phillies will do. And we will see if those Sixers are 10-1, baby.
That's right.
We will see if they get to 10-1. We'd be fine with 9-2, but beating the Celtics twice would be
pretty
else.
Sweet.
So until then, we appreciate you listening. We hope that you have a great week ahead. Take care of yourselves. Take care of somebody else. Be good to others, yourself. Until we talk again, of course, go Birds on your bye week. Go Sixers. But most of all, we love you, Rhys. Thanks for everything, man.
We love you, brother. God bless you, and good luck wherever you end up.
Oh, my God. Deep to right field. Way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.